perfectly, and you're right in making that reference, insinuation. But what it said, all it said, and it wasn't defeated. It wasn't allowed to come up for consideration with the 60-vote cloture requirement.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get 60. But what only thing it said, we have the same bill in the House, Ann Wagner's bill that I've co-sponsored, and we're trying to get that up in the House as well. But all it said was if the baby that is a result of a botched abortion is born alive, then you treat that baby in the hospital the same way we treat any other newborn. That's all it said.
But that's insisting that the doctor have hospital privileges, and we can't even seem to get that through in Texas, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, the bottom line is a nurse, an attending physician, an EMT, whoever was in the room, just do what you would normally do with a baby born alive.
Instead of sticking it in a closet.
Okay. So let me talk to another one that's really bothering me, Tim. How about the Climate Change Education Act?
Well, I tell you, it will probably get through the House, or at least through House Education Committee in which I sit. We will debate it long and hard. We will fight it. And we will fight it on the issue. All we want people to understand in their courses of study in high school, elementary education is true science. Teach them science. Teach them that we're to be good stewards of the resources. We're to do the best we can to clean up any dirtiness that's out there. But beyond that, let's not do change agentry in people and try to get people to simply accept something that isn't fully proven in any way, shape, or form.
So,
is there climate change? Sure, there's climate change. We've seen that take place. We've seen
way?
Cycles.
Well, it's claiming it's changing. It's been changing for 4 billion years.
But which way?
Well,
is it getting warmer or colder? I can't.
Right now, it's getting colder. What worries me about the Climate Change Education Act is that they're going to provide money, is what they want to do, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, for K-12 students to ensure that students graduate from high school with high climate literacy.
Right.
And
what about English literacy for once?
Let's
Math
start with
literacy.
English what I don't like, to me, this smacks of propaganda. You're going to propagandize our kids. Our kids already, my kid comes home all the time saying, the teacher told us we're destroying the climate. No, hello, we are not. Not in this country, because it's cleaner now than it was in the 70s. I can tell you that.
Tim is fighting this legislation. That puts him clearly on the record of wanting us all to die in 12 years. Is that right, Tim?
No, I will not accept that.
Okay.
We're going to be around in 12 years unless we get hit by an autonomous vehicle or something.
Yeah.
But we're going to be around in 12 years. This country, and the most recent studies have come out, the actual science studies that have come out, say that if we were to go to 100% renewable fuels as opposed to natural gas and coal and oil and the rest of it, just go to wind and solar, we would still only change climate change and CO2 emissions by less than a hundredth of a percentage, as I recollect reading the report, less than a hundredth of a percentage point. And if we did it in the entire world, it still would be less than half a percentage point of change on CO2 around the world.
And we'd all starve to death and freeze in the winter.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the stuff that has to get out, that the minute change by going whole hog without full science and understanding that let's keep moving, let's keep getting better, sure, but let's also make sure we still put humans first to have a good, sound economic condition, to be able to provide for themselves, to be able to continue to grow in their economic status, to feed the world and all of the rest, and we can do that. And that's why this type of education requirement is going to encourage more families to put their children in some other setting as opposed to a government school that is going to be forced to teach that if that type of legislation went through. And frankly, right now, I don't think it will pass.
Yeah, well, that's good. All right, so then the last thing, how about status on the National Emergency Declaration in the House? The Democrat House went ahead and passed the resolution, did they not?
They did, and it appears that we'll have 4 Republicans that will vote with the Democrats to send that bill to the president, and thankfully he will veto it, and then there will not be 2/3 in each house to override his veto. But
he'll be
you and
colluding
I
with
have
himself.
talked about this before. We've talked about the fact that I'd much rather not have the president do an emergency order and have Congress to do what we should have done and what the House attempted to do several times last term and passed a full funding of the wall and border security and immigration reform, etc. We passed it, and it didn't get through the Senate because of Chuck Schumer. The same people that are decrying right now what the president is doing on an emergency order are the same people that wouldn't let the legislation go through last time or this time in the form that it needed to be. The president is not just pulling $7.5 million out of the hat. He's pulled it out from asking the people on the border who are responsible for defending our border, the Border and Customs Patrol agents, and also the ICE agents, and the Homeland Security people. They've given them numbers. They've told them what they needed as far as barriers, as far as human intelligence, human boots on the ground, electronic surveillance, border courts, magistrates, all of those things, and housing for asylum seekers. That's what they're the ones that have given him the information. This wasn't pulled out of the hat. And so the president said, if that's what's needed for me to defend my country and do the job that's expected of me as a president, duly elected, I might add, then I'm going to have to do an emergency order. And I think the emergency order also expresses to the American people that we're not kidding. This is a problem. This is an emergency situation taking place. When you have colleagues of mine go down to the border as recently as last week and sit with the border and customs agents and see over 100 people every night collected trying to cross a border where there is no fence, there is no gate, there is no electronic surveillance, and they've been caught by a drone flying over top, and they catch them in America, over 100 people every night. That is, I think, an emergency. That's an invasion that's taken place.
Yeah, because how many aren't caught?
Yeah,
right?
and all the drone does is validate their right to be processed as sanctuary people.
Right.
Yeah. Let's get them stopped. What do you say to a guy like Justin Amash, Tim, when he votes with the Democrats on this?
I don't say anything. He makes up his own mind.
I find this guy all the time just seeming to, and then he likes to hide behind the Constitution. And I don't know how he keeps getting reelected.
Look
on the
up
other
loose
side of the
cannon.
state.
Look up loose cannon in the dictionary. There's his picture.
All I can say is that I hide behind the Constitution as well. I stand behind it. I try to defend it. And I believe every vote I've taken is constitutional. So there's a disconnect there somewhere, but I'm going to keep doing my job.
All right, Tim. Well, thank you so much for that. And as always, let us know if something comes up. You're always welcome to call in anytime.
I appreciate it. You guys have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Great rest of the day to you too, Gary.
And you, Ed. All right. Until next week, go to thedailydrift.com. See you later.